So have you ever been on the road and a car or truck passes with this whole heap of black smoke coming out of it and you end up breathing it in and perhaps choking or coughing or just feel bad? Well, that smoke has health and environmental implications. That's the focus of this edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson-Miller. We're going to be going to our expert guest in studio a little later in the program, but let's start out with Driven to Pollute, a special report by Giovanni Dennis.
When we think about vehicles polluting the environment, scenarios like this are obvious. People covering their mouths and noses from thick black exhaust.
Like a poison, man. You see when you reach a couple chain, you can feel a real poison down along your lungs. You know? Them things they're not supposed to inhale. You know? It give you a bad feeling. Like you want to die.
And you have to cock up your nose and run out of it and go inside. Because you know, say, when you smell it, you know it come like down in your throat like a scratch like. And your chest. Like when you da smoke go down in you start to cough. You smell the gas different. The whole gas there, when you come out of it, terrible. I tell you.
For Kevin, who works on the road, it happens way too often, literally making him sick.
When that go down, you feel different, you know.
You feel different?
Yeah, your chest feel different, you know. Like you can taste the gas then. We are coming up with the black smoke there.
The exhaust is not just from trucks, but also buses, cars, even bikes.
But even when I'm walking now, so a nuisance. Sometimes I have to cover my nose, honestly.
When you smell it, what does it feel like when you inhale?
No, man, sometimes I smell it, it feel like you want to choke. It's just so disgusting. I have to cover my nose.
But what is this exhaust, really?
Black smoke, the soot, it is really gases and particulates coming from combustion. You know, combustion when things burn, because of course it's the engine that is burning. So it had a lot of contaminants or toxicants.
Leonard Smith is Chief Environmental Engineer at the National Public Health Lab. A contaminant is a polluting or poisonous substance that makes something impure, while a toxicant is a toxic substance introduced into the environment, meaning it's poisonous. Contained in the visible exhaust, particulate matter.
The major air pollutant has to do with particulate matter, and particularly PM2.5. PM2.5 is really a small, very small size particles that can be inhaled into the lung and be transferred into our bloodstream.
Jodian Marston heads the Air Quality Management Branch at the National Environment and Planning Agency, NEPA. Particulate matter, or PM, is a mixture of tiny airborne solids or liquid droplets. Wildfires, outdoor burning, vehicle emissions, and industry fumes can create particulate matter anytime. There are two kinds, PM10 and PM2.5. The latter, PM2.5, is the more dangerous of the two. It represents particulate matter that is 2.5 micrometers in diameter or smaller. For context, these are 3 strands of my hair. PM2.5 is 25 to 30 times smaller than a single strand.
The PM2.5 sized particle is readily absorbed through the airway if someone inhales it, and then it enters the bloodstream. So the more of this particulate matter that someone is exposed to, the more particles will be entering the bloodstream. Now, this is foreign to the body, does not belong within the body, and so it potentially sets up an inflammatory response.
Dr. Terry Baker is a pulmonologist, internist, and senior medical officer at the National Chest Hospital. Repeated exposure to PM2.5 is especially harmful for children, stunting their development. People with chronic disease are also at greater risk.
Sometimes I have sinus then. I know say allergy sometimes, trust me.
So it affect your allergies?
Yeah, man, it's very annoying. Very that sometimes the big truck them.
Repeated exposure of persons to these particulate matter at high concentrations has the potential to affect not just respiratory health, leading to both acute and chronic conditions such as worsening asthma, the development of chronic obstructive lung diseases, increased predisposition to having pneumonias, ear infections, but it can also affect your heart health.
They may exacerbate condition that already exists. So if you have a pre-existing condition and you're in an environment that has consistently high levels of these toxicants, you're likely to die before that pre-existing condition takes you out.
Mr. Smith is concerned because ambient air and indoor air in Jamaica are worsening. Details on that in a moment. The visible vehicle exhaust we see and smell pollutes our atmosphere. But then there are the gases we can't see.
The carbon monoxide, the nitrogen oxide, sulfur oxides at levels that are above the regulated or guideline levels that WHO, World Health Organization, sets are not safe.
And the gases like carbon dioxide produced by combustion engines like the ones in vehicles contribute to climate change. Carbon dioxide is known as a greenhouse gas because it traps heat from the sun in the Earth's atmosphere instead of allowing the heat to go into space. This is called the greenhouse effect.
These are the hydrocarbons that actually add to the greenhouse effect and the negative impact on the environment, erosion of the ozone layer, the climate change that we're seeing, the increasing storms, rising of the seas, the surges, the heat. I mean, we live in Jamaica. Nearly every summer it tends to be hotter, and it is expected that this year will be hot as well.
These gases don't just damage the environment.
You have carbon dioxide and carbon monoxide, both of which will compete within the body, displacing oxygen. So potentially there's less oxygen reaching vital organs if someone is really inhaling quite a lot of these gases and at high concentrations.
Well, for me personally, I get like headaches after smelling that, or suddenly start feel bad. But honestly, with the population growing and everything like that, it's like something that, yes, it's going to affect us going forward more, I think.
The extra heat globally is not just about being uncomfortable. It's melting the Arctic ice. This leads to rising sea levels and causes more intense drought and storms. But polluting vehicles are also contributing to what experts confirm is an emerging problem in Jamaica: worsening outdoor and indoor air quality.
Indoor air levels that we are seeing are typically above the WHO limits. So we do have a challenge with indoor air quality as far as meeting WHO guidelines are concerned.
The World Health Organization guidelines stipulate annually no more than 5 micrograms of PM2.5 per cubic meter.
We, on average, for indoor air quality, we're at about 10.4. So we are definitely above the limit. And in many spaces, it's well above that from indoor air.
More than double what the required.
Right.
That's what we see.
Yes, that's right. Definitely, it's about double what the revised WHO guideline is, because the WHO has reduced its limits because the previous limits they felt were too high and were still causing deaths related to to air quality in general. So the 5 microgram per meter cube as the annual average is their current limit, and we're seeing definitely above that, up to twice as much as that. That's correct.
The issue was discussed at a February 2025 meeting with public health and environment officials.
All the stakeholders came together to look at ambient air in general, and of course, vehicle emissions would have been a part of that conversation as well. And the direction that they are taking, of course, is to try to make the case that there is a concern with air pollution in Jamaica, an emerging concern, and we need to be paying attention to it.
Paying attention to it because this affects people's health. In fact, the World Health Organization notes air pollution kills an estimated 7 million people worldwide every year. WHO data show that 9 out of 10 people breathe air containing high levels of pollutants. The concentration of pollutants in the ambient or outdoor air is increasing.
Enough time I walk on the road, they truck them and they look at dirty taxi them. Them always look at the dirty smoke and affect my nose, make my stomach hurt me. Government have to do something about it, I forget to stop off it.
What we have seen from the PM2.5 data, and this is from monitoring stations that we have in some of the urban areas rather, across the island, is that some areas have concentrations that are higher than our local standards.
Remember, Jamaica's standard for acceptable levels of daily exposure to PM2.5 more than doubles what the World Health Organization currently recommends. WHO recommends 15 micrograms per cubic meter. Jamaica allows 35 micrograms per cubic meter. But why does our standard differ from the internationally recommended guidelines set by the WHO?
Well, we have to consider several factors when we're establishing standards, and some of that includes what our background concentrations are. So while we are at the 35 microgram per cubic meter, we hope that over time we'll be able to tighten those standards to meet or align with WHO guidelines.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with Driven to Pollute. Let me remind you, you can WhatsApp us. It's 876-254-0693. That's 876-254-0693. Give us your first name. Give us your general location. We'll soon come.